I just hit play. I didn't move it.
You hit play.
Record. Is this thing on?
Welcome to... What is Garrett supposed to do when Hunter's talking?
Look at the camera and smile.
Welcome to We Made It Out Alive 2018, the video where we talk about all of the adventures that didn't make it into our videos throughout the year. We've had a lot of adventures this year, and even more stories, so let's get started. I don't think I really showed this too much in our video, but we were at that resort over New Year's. So yeah, we were there for the holiday. Didn't do a whole lot of holiday-like things. There was a party, a lot of dancing and stuff. We didn't do too much with it, but it was kind of neat to be there for that. It was better than being at home, I guess. But yeah.
So at the beginning of our Bahamas video, you probably saw us shoveling the snow, and you're like, well, what the heck? There was a huge snowstorm that night, probably the biggest of the year, really. And we were trying to leave. We had to take our cat to our grandma's, so she could watch him. But there's just so much snow on our driveway and the roads. This was it probably started at maybe 9:30 or 10. We had seen it coming in, so we were getting ready for it. But, just inches and inches of snow. So we were out there at midnight shoveling the snow. We had to leave for the airport at like 3:30. So we got very little sleep that night. Ate some waffles, toaster waffles right in the middle of the night, and then went to bed. 8 hours later or whatever, we were in Bahamas. It was nice and warm. It was actually colder than normal there when we were in the Bahamas. I ended up wearing my winter coat to one of the nightly shows they had going on. But it was cool.
Flight to the Bahamas. So this was like our first adventure of the new year, right? Like we filmed this video last year and then pretty much left. So it was 2 flights, Cleveland to Fort Lauderdale to Freeport. So we had to go outside of security and back through security to get to our new terminal for the other plane, which is the stupidest thing ever. So if you can avoid Fort Lauderdale Airport, do that. Unfortunately, we're going to be back there pretty shortly. So we got on this Bahamas airline, or whatever it was called. And one flight attendant, it was airplane with 2 engines on the wings with propellers on them.
You shame me.
I'm sorry. What was the plane?
I
don't know either.
It's a Dash 8. The Avalon Dash
8. Tell me about the flight.
Oh, it was a great flight.
Airplane?
This is a Saab 340 Plus.
Okay, sure. So one flight attendant, right? Walk out on the tarmac, get on the plane, sit down, we're at an emergency exit. She comes to us and she's like, do you accept the responsibilities or whatever, which, you have to do. Say yes, of course. She's like, okay, great. We sit there a little while longer. She closes the flight door, comes back to us. Flight attendant sees my camera. She says, there's an open seat on the other side of the plane. Do you want to move there? Because when we fly into the Bahamas, that's the side that the island's going to be on. So I actually got to have my seat moved because of my camera, and that's how I got that shot of the Bahamas in our video that we made. So it was pretty cool because that was the first time that we got I guess special treatment for having a camera. So it was a cool feeling. West Virginia.
Blue Ridge Mountain. I don't think we actually made it to the official top of the trail we were hiking on in West Virginia. We saw the scenic outlook and we were like, oh my gosh. So we run out there. It was awesome. We spent probably 45 minutes or an hour sitting there and looking and filming and all that stuff.
At the top, we actually found a cave that was big enough to go inside of. Oh, dude, there's a cave over here.
Dude.
No, legit.
Really?
The legit. Okay. It's not huge. I know. Perhaps. I want to just can you see all the way back there?
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Alright, it does go a little bit deeper, but
yeah.
I don't know if I get in there, really. A couple of pine cones. This is the kind of stuff you just never expect to find, at the top of a mountain, but
That's just another reason why adventure's out there. You just gotta go and find it.
It's just like one of those things that you never expect. Like you get to the top and you're like looking for a view, but there's a cave, and it's, you know, it just reminds you that adventure can be unexpected like that.
And I was reading more afterwards, and I think there was maybe another half mile uphill we could have went to a even more spectacular outlook. But by that time, to beat the sunset on the way back, and we were getting hungry and tired, we're just okay. We'll call it. Hike back down.
Got to the airport, talked to the owner. Courtesy car was broken or something, which not entirely sure I believe that, but said, yeah, you can rent a car from my friends at this place. So we're like, all right, we'll call them. So I pull out the phone, right? 0 bars on both of our phones. So that's not good. When we'd come in, we'd noticed a payphone.
Wait, what? No. Does it work?
We didn't have any coins because we don't really carry coins, but we had some dollars, and there was this like big, like, I don't know, what would you call it?
But in here, free cookies. And if you're not in the mood for cookies, they've got all of this other food, which you have to pay for a little bit based on the honor system, but I mean, got like ice cream and everything. Right?
If it's an honest to God payphone, but I have no quarters. But
Well, yeah.
you might have changed in here. Did you see some?
I don't know. Oh yeah, who's changing there?
I'm stealing. I'm not stealing. I'm putting $1 in. $1. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, smart thinking.
Thank you. I think it's just 50 cents. Be able to give us a ride. We're trying to go to Cabins, West Virginia.
And then, you know, after that, first time using a payphone, but no issues, called the place, they came, picked us up, and, you know, the story goes on from there, but it was, you just never know what you're going to find.
So when we went to West Virginia, they had a self-serve fuel pump, which I'd actually never used before. So when we were there, I struggled to learn how to fuel an airplane by myself for the first time.
Sure. Switches off. Next ground to aircraft.
You have to do both tanks? Or run. I think that it was over.
So Iceland was it was interesting how it came about. Our mom was reading some news article about $99 flights to Iceland. I think it was 99 on WoW Air. You know, it's the new up and coming airline for that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. She's like, I'm gonna book them. And we're like, okay, you know, because Iceland's pretty cool. You know, I looked up some pictures and read a little bit about it, and so we booked him there. Finding out later how expensive the country actually is to stay, but you know, you can minimize your cost of living. Anywho, so yeah, we had just about a week in Iceland. I relish the opportunity to plan all that stuff because I think that's a lot of fun, just to research all the cool spots, pick the best, and map it out. And I bought the big National Geographic adventure map for Iceland. Oh man, I spent hours poring over that thing. I love maps. You guys probably know. Anyways, so yep, we flew out there. It's a red-eye flight, most of them to Iceland, which works out well because when you wake up and you get off the plane, it was cold. Because we're coming from July or August, yeah, July, in Ohio here, which is, you know, 70s, 80s, and then it was like 45 when we got. We're like, oh man, it was raining. We're like, what did we get ourselves into? We're like, nonetheless, let's go for it. So we get our car, which took a while. Great little car, I gotta say. Drove off to our first spot, you know, and just navigating on my map and everything. Had a first awesome hike, which was the extreme hike on Iceland's secret mountain, which was kind of true. I'd found it on all trails, so I guess it's not really a secret. But per se, but there was hardly anyone there. It could be a factor of the weather because it was still raining and cold. But yeah, we saw two people on our way down who were going for a run. I think they were locals. But yeah, hardly anyone. So that was awesome just to be able to get all the shots we did and have that experience to ourselves. So when we were in Iceland, one of the nights we went to this place for dinner that was like on a farm, and you had the hamburgers from the cow that were looking at you through the windows, which was kind of weird. But anyways, afterwards, my family was getting some ice cream, and there's this little dog outside, and he was carrying something in his mouth, and he like puts it down in front of me, and he's looking at it. So I'm like reaching down to grab, see what it was, and trying not to get bitten, you know. So I pick it up. He's looking at me. It's a little stick. I go, oh, okay. So I throw it, and he chases after it, you know, going crazy, and then brings it right back, puts it down. And I'm like, oh, no way. And we probably played fetch for like 25 minutes. Just me and there's a little piece of stick, but the dog is having the time of his life. When it was finally time to go, he chased us down the road in our car as we were leaving. It was pretty cute. I wanted to take him home with me.
We went to a lot of the touristy spots, like we went to Syne or whatever, famous waterfall. We went to the Rec DC3. We went to, you know, all the like touristy spots. But we tried to pick places and show you places that not everyone is going to. Like, we could have made a video about the DC3, but it would have been... That'd be the video. It's not very interesting. You know, we could show you the waterfalls. We could show you things that, like, everyone knows Iceland for, but that's not very interesting. What we're trying to do is shed some light on some more unique adventures that you could have for yourself if you are fortunate enough to be able to go to these places.
So one thing we didn't make a video about in Iceland was the snorkeling trip we went on. So there's a place called Silfra, which is where the tectonic plates are shifting apart, and it creates this big crack in the crust. And then this is fed by a natural spring into a lake. So the water is about 34, 35 degrees Fahrenheit, but they let people get all suited up in dry suits and with snorkeling gear and take a little dive through it. So before they let us get in the water, you had to get in all your protective clothing. So first we had like a base layer of like a warm something, and then the full dry suit, so that doesn't let any water in, covers most of our body, all the way from our feet. Gloves to cover our hands, and then a hood, so just a little bit of our face was exposed before we put our mask on and had our snorkel in. And they were pretty buoyant too, so it's hard to really dive underwater, but the water was probably some of the clearest you've ever seen. I mean, you could see 60 feet down into the fissure there easily. Super pure. They said you could drink it, just, you know, pull your snorkel out and drink some and you'd be fine. Tasted pretty good. It was super cold. When you know, your face that was exposed was chilled instantly, like when you got in there. But yeah, it was pretty neat.
So the reason we went to Midstate was to see the Perseids, as we mentioned in the video. And the reason it's called Fire in the Sky is because of another John Denver song called Rocky Mountain High, where he mentioned seeing fire in the sky, which I know for a fact was inspired by the Perseid meteor shower, so that's why it's called that. But yeah, so I knew it was going to be hard to capture on video what we were seeing, because it'd be really dim, you know, and the camera's not that good at seeing in the dark. So, oh, come here. Yeah, so instead of trying to video it, decided to do some long exposure photography, which we only got 4 or 5 shots in the time that we were there, and maybe hour and a half that we spent looking at stars. Drained the camera battery all the way down, but overall I was happy with how the pictures came out, and I think they did a pretty good job of showing you what we saw. The plan was originally that we would hike in on a trail and then hike out on that same trail the next day. What ended up happening was we couldn't find the trail when we were at the airport, so we just decided to take the roads because it was getting dark. We didn't want to be hiking in the dark and stuff. So the next day we were like determined to like get on this trail and like hike in the woods and stuff. So we went out there to do partially. So we stopped in this little like informational shack on the campground. and they had free maps, so we grabbed one, and you know, Garrett loves his maps, so we took it outside, opened it up, and he found where we were, found the trail.
To walk down this road a bit, to the Hay Road Trail, to the Seneca Trail, to the Indian Trail, to the Moss Hane Trail, and then follow this, and then hopefully it runs through here somehow.
Started on it, is fine, you know, it's pretty similar to trails around here, plant-wise and stuff. It ended up being a lot longer than we thought it would be, and it got kind of bad at the end. As we started getting closer to the airport, it started getting really wet and muddy.
Man.
Like, there were a couple places where they had built boardwalks because it was so bad, but there were a lot of places where they needed to build boardwalks. I felt bad for Garrett because, like, you know, it's one thing for me to be muddy and then just have to go home, but he had to fly and stuff, so he ended up taking his shoes and socks off because they were so muddy and just flying barefoot.
So on the way to San Francisco, I had my black backpack that we had taken to Midstate, and really I hadn't cleaned it out since we had gone to Midstate. I had done like a cursory check before I left, like just the front top pocket and everything. But I packed it up and headed to the airport. I'm going through security, and I put it on the conveyor belt thing, you know, and it goes through there, and then they stop it and they're looking at their screen, and, you know, it's like, oh, I hope it's not my bag, because, you know, I've had it checked before for like a water bottle. It's just, you know, inconvenience.
I got to San Francisco first, and Garrett got there maybe an hour later, and I had been waiting. I waited for him at the bottom of this escalator that came down from where all the flights came in, and saw him and stuff. You know, I hadn't seen him in a couple of months, so we were having a great time catching up and stuff. While we were on the way to our motel at some point, he goes, I have some funny stories for you. I'm like, okay, this sounds good.
Anyway, so they pull my bag out. He said, whose bag is this? You know, I raised my hand. We go over to the little table, and they're looking through all the pockets and searching through it, and then they open up like the middle pocket, which I never put anything in the middle pocket.
So we get to our motel, barricade the door, you know, all the standard stuff you do when you get to a sketchy motel. And he's like, all right, so you'll never guess what happened to me in security today.
And they pull out our big survival knife and a lighter. And I mean, it's not like a pocket knife. It's like a 5-inch blade, you know. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get locked away. And they're like, well, can't take that on the airplane. Like, yeah.
I'm thinking, oh no, you did not lose my knife.
I had to catch my flight, and it was going to be $20 to mail it back anyway. So I'm like, well, just toss it, and I'll pick up a new one.
And like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's my knife. Like, my knife. Like, that knife came with us on our very first adventure to Bergenstraw. That knife was there in West Virginia. That knife came to Midstate. That knife was part of Adventure Twins, and now it's gone forever.
Turns out it's a $70 knife, so it's kind of at a loss anyways. But yeah, for a while there, I thought I was going to be thrown in some prison cell and not make it to San Francisco.
And he didn't even buy me a new one yet. I miss my knife. So probably one of my favorite stories from San Francisco is on the second day. We were doing the North Shore thing, right? Just walking along and seeing the sights. And we wanted to get some food at like a sit-down place, kind of have like a birthday meal, I guess. And we had trouble finding food on that part because it was mostly residential, so we had to walk in like off the shore a little bit and to look for food. So we found this Italian place. It was like, all right, you know, get some pizza or whatever. So we walk in, get to our table with my 2 bags and cameras, of course, you know. You get back there, look at the menu. Whole thing's in Italian. We don't speak Italian at all, so we had to Google like most of what the menu was. Our waiter came back and asked us, you know, do you have any questions? And there were a lot of things I could have asked, but what I did ask was, do you guys have any soda? The answer was basically no. I said they had like some of those like Italian cream sodas or whatever, and like Mexican Coke, which I'm not really sure what she meant when she said that, but I didn't want to ask. So we stuck with water. You know, we were sitting there like discreetly Googling the menu and stuff, right? Garrett picked out some like chicken meatball something, I don't know. And I found pizza on the menu. I was like, it's usually a safe bet, right? So waiter comes back. Garrett says he wants his whatever thing, mispronounces it pretty badly. And then she looks at me. I said, I'll have the margarita pizza. And she goes, yep. Like she was expecting me to say that. Like I just look like the kind of person that walks into a fancy Italian restaurant and orders the most American thing on the menu. So, that was like the end of my torment. Like we'd get our food and leave and stuff. But they bring out the food and, it looks good. Pizza is not cut. Waiter comes back and she gives me this pair of scissors. Like, not exactly kitchen shears, but like, I don't know, scissors. So, I was kind of confused at first because I was like, there's no way people actually do this. And what I ended up thinking, and what I think now is they just saw these two very American people come in and they wanted to like make a joke out of us. So they gave me this pair of scissors because they wanted to watch me cut this pizza up and eat it. So we were sitting there talking after we were done and stuff, and they had put this wine bottle on our table, but it had water in it. They had like this whole wine theme going on. So I said to Garrett, I bet you won't take a sip out of that bottle. And lo and behold, we already paid by that time. So after he did that, we left pretty quickly.
So as you can see, 2018 was a pretty exciting year for us, and we hope it inspired you to have your own adventures and make your own memories.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, 2019 has even more in store. We've got lots more crazy adventures planned and some new gear to play around with, so it's going to be an exciting year.
Absolutely. And, we say this at the end of every video, and we mean every word of it. Like this video if you thought it was cool.
Share it with your travel mates.
Subscribe if you haven't.
And get out there and have
an adventure.
You don't say it.
Why can't I say it?
Because I say it.
Maybe we can both say it.
Yeah,
that could be like a new
kind
thing.
of cheesy.
It,
It's hard to sync up and...
What was 2018 to you?
the year after 2017.
Yeah.
Can I just start talking? Is it recording?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's awkward. So the Bahamas was a pretty interesting trip. We went there to learn how to scuba dive.
What? I can't do that.
So the Bahamas was a pretty interesting trip for us. We went there to learn how to scuba dive. It was actually a pretty... You can't do that. That was your fault.
That was my fault. Oh.
Talk about the payphone.
Oh yeah, so
Or to choke up a little.